So I get this working theory that Gene Hackman had died of natural causes. He was 95 years of age. Gene Hackman was 95 years of age, and then Betsy Arakawa was 60 something years old. And they were dead for like 2 weeks, 9 days, like over a week. They were dead and nobody knew. I mean, even if they're reclusive, they knew each other. And to say that both of them died at the same time, it just sounds like, was it like Romeo and Juliet? Did they both decide to, just say to hell with it? Or did he had died of old age and then she was just, distraught? The reason why I presume that, or I'm thinking that, is because they said that there was pill bottles. Where Betsy Arakawa was found, they found pill bottles around where her body was found. And we haven't been told what the pill bottles. We speculate, and there's some reports about what the pill bottles were, like thyroid medicine, blood pressure medicine, some prescription pills, and Tylenol. So in the bathroom, you have all these pills in the bathroom. I mean, that seems like a weird place for pills, and it seems that's too much of a coincidence to have a 60-year-old and a 90-year-old to die of old age, heart attack. I don't know. It could be uremia, right? It could be like uremia. Because a lot of times, nobody dies of being old. Your heart stops or your brain stops, and it stops for a particular reason. Sometimes people die of like pneumonia. They're old and they have like, 5 or 6 other ailments, but it's pneumonia that pushes them over. So I asked Grok a bunch of questions about this. I also asked him what the name of the dog was. They couldn't figure it out, but they did say that there was a dog he had adopted, which was named Gene. And then there was a dog that was at the shelter that was named Buck, but they think it could be the same dog. The dog had longevity because he had adopted it many years ago, but maybe it was a puppy of the dog. I mean, that's the real tragedy of all this is, how come nobody knows the dog's name? And then if they did, I don't even want to say speculate. But, yeah, let's speculate. If they did something to themselves, why not let the dog out of the cage? Because I feel like that's my working theory, is that he died of old age, she killed herself, and then the dog was stuck in the cage because both of them were dead. So if she was going to kill herself, why not let the dog out of the cage? Instead, the dog is going to die of starvation or, dehydration. So that was a very selfish move for her. I guess if you're distraught and then you're just saying to hell with it. But hell, both of them could have took some pills and then he had wandered off or something. Or maybe she did something to him. Maybe she slipped something into his food. They said the toxicology report isn't going to come for, weeks, which is like, weeks? If they were killed, Randy Quaid is, suggesting that they were killed, and ultimately you only got 4 options. They died of natural causes. It was suicide, or murder, right? Those are the 4 options. So if it was like something they did to themselves, not much you could do about it now. If it was natural causes, well then we don't really even have to worry about any of this. If it's fucking murder, then that's a murder investigation. This is the same place, Aiden Mendoza, where you had Rust. Alec Baldwin goes down there, shoots a woman in the face, and they handle him with kid gloves. Asking him this question, that question, kind of beating around the bush, and then eventually filing some damn charges which get fucking thrown out on some technicality. So, this is the same damn sheriff that I'll say bungled Alec Baldwin's murder on the set of Rust. So let's see what Grok has to say. Let's get into some of these details. What was Gene Hackman's cause of death? As of March 3rd, 2025, the official cause of death hasn't been determined. He was 95 years old. Betsy Arakawa was 65 years old. They were found dead in their Santa Fe, New Mexico home on February 26, 2025. I think it was, what they say, February 17th. So 9 days. It took 9 days before they were found. their dead bodies. They say 9 days because his pacemaker had stopped. So he didn't have his own heart. He had a pacemaker in his heart. Maybe it was something about the pacemaker. I mean, 95 is a long fucking life. Average lifespan is what, 76 years of age? So they didn't suspect foul play. Why not? I guess there's like, their bodies weren't bludgeoned and there was no breaking into the house. But according to Randy Quaid, right, I mean, that's the perfect way to, you make it look like it was natural or suicide, but it was intentional and it was done by somebody on the outside, right? Because if you come across a scene and you think that it was suicide, then you're not going to investigate. You're not going to think that anybody had done the damn thing. And if you think it was natural causes, then that would be even less of a reason for you to think that anybody would have done it. But then what's the motive? Like, who would have gone after Gene Hackman, and why would they have gone after Gene Hackman? For what reasons? So there's an open pill bottle, scattered pills, a knocked over heater. Preliminary autopsy findings have ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning. That was big. That was some breaking news. The gas company came in and said there was no gas, but then the toxicology, report came by and said that it wasn't either. Hackman's pacemaker data indicates his last recorded activity was on February 17th, 2025, suggesting he may have been deceased for approximately 9 days before discovery. However, the exact time and cause of Arakawa's death remain unclear. Full autopsy and toxicology results are still pending and could take weeks to months to finalize, according to authorities. Until those results are released, the precise cause of Gene Hackman's death remains unknown. Let's just kind of skim through this, right? So Betsy Arakawa found dead along with one of their 3 dogs. 2 dogs were living, 1 was dead. Autopsies and the toxicology report are still being completed. So how long does it take to do an autopsy? How long does it take to do a toxicology? I guess you got to do a couple tests. They found a German Shepherd was found in the bathroom closet, 10 to 15 feet away from Arakawa's body. 2 other dogs were found alive and well, with access to the outdoors via a pet door. Initial speculation on X suggested that the kennel dog may have died of starvation or dehydration. That seems like the most obvious to me. Possibly trapped after the couple's death. And they said that Hackman's pacemaker data showed that his last activity was February 17th. February 17th and then February 26th is when they were found dead. That's 9 days. Gene Hackman and his wife were dead for 9 days before anybody. Did they not have children? Do they not have neighbors? I mean, if they're just total recluses and it's just them 2, then maybe it would have taken a while. But however, the sheriff's office has not confirmed this. No autopsy. The claims about the dog starving remain speculative since there's not official confirmation. Let's see here. Specific names for all of Gene Hackman's dogs are not fully confirmed in official reports. So in 1999, so that seems unlikely because they said that the average lifespan of a German Shepherd is from 9 to 13 years of age. 9 to 13 years of age. So that's not a very long life. Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were known to have 3 dogs at their Santa Fe, New Mexico home. So they're talking about in 1999 during the filming of The Replacements in Baltimore, according to Animal Rescue Incorporated, 2 stray dogs had wandered onto the set. Hackman later adopted one of them, and the shelter had named one of them Gene and the other Keanu after, Keanu and Gene, and then he kept the one named Gene. However, some reports, like one from Newsweek, suggest this dog might have been named Duke by the shelter, though this could be a discrepancy or a later name change by Hackman. Given the timeline adopted in 1999 and Hackman's death in 2025, it's unlikely that this specific dog was still alive. Now, they are saying it's a German Shepherd. So even if that wasn't, if that German Shepherd still wasn't alive, I think I've seen pictures where he had 2 German Shepherds. So is it possible that he had a German Shepherd that had more German Shepherds? I mean, I don't know if it was a male or female. They called it Gene, so I would presume that it was a male. But perhaps there was a female that came around, and then now you got a bunch of little German Shepherds around. Or maybe he just loved his German Shepherd and would adopt German Shepherds. I don't know. I don't think Gene, the German Shepherd, would have lived if the typical lifespan, but then he had a long lifespan too. He lived to be 95. So maybe they was, feeding him and exercising him pretty good. Maybe not exercising them. Well, I don't know. If they run freely, then they could get their own exercise. And then he lived to be 95, which was, 20 years past a typical American's life expectancy. But 75 to 95, that's what? Just 20% increase? Even if you did 20% increase on 13, I mean, what is that, like 3 or 4 years? So that's, 16, 17 years. 1999 is 26 years away. So that's still 10 years, to go. So that's not, there's like almost no possibility of that happening. But could it be the son of Gene Hackman, the German Shepherd? Let's see. Some reports, like one from Newsweek, suggest this dog might have been named Duke by the shelter, though this could be a discrepancy or a later name change by Hackman. Duke. So they're saying that the shelter had named it Duke, or that he had a dog named Duke. I heard that the two living German Shepherds were with family. They should tell us the name of their fucking dog, Shit. When you say the name of the dead to the earth, they're still alive. If you don't even name the dog or don't know the name, it's like you don't care about life. It's unlikely. Dogs are angels. Dogs absolutely adore man. They adore man. If we can't even love something that adores us, then we really have no business, this whole civilization business. We should not be the top of the food chain. Dogs should be the top of the food chain. For my next president, I'm going to nominate a dog. As long as they're born in America and they're 35. Can dogs live to be 35? Well, it's in dog years, right? So, he's had a dog named Gene. He had a dog named Duke. Hackman's author bio in the Simon & Schuster mentions he lived with his wife and 2 German Shepherds in Santa Fe. No names are provided. There's the Gene story. So no specific names, just Gene, who is also called Duke. The Duke of Death, the Duck of Death. There's no definitive evidence to confirm or rule out the possibility that Betsy Arakawa committed suicide. Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, that's Aiden Mendoza, right? Hackman, age 95, Arakawa, age 63. We've already read this, but there is about the pills. There was specifically, they said there was open pill bottle, and then they had mentioned what the pills were. They said that they were like typical pills. Like blood pressure, thyroid medicine, Tylenol, and something else, and prescription. That's the only 4 words. So we don't know anything if it was like pills that you could overdose on. Could you overdose on Tylenol? I guess theoretically, right? Probably overdose on anything. You could overdose on water. Drink water until you blow up. So I'm not reading anything on there. Could it be murder? So let's see here. There was thyroid medication, high blood pressure drugs, and Tylenol, and an open prescription bottle nearby. So Hackman's in the mudroom, she's in the bathroom, the dog is in the bathroom closet. So Randy Quaid had suggested that this is what they do with Hollywood actors. So, pay attention to this. Some speculate that Arakawa might have overdosed after Hackman's natural death, heart event given his pacemaker and age, but no suicide note was found. The pill quantity's lethality isn't confirmed. Forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden suggested an accidental scenario. Hackman could have had a cardiac arrest, tracked by his pacemaker, and Arakawa, in a panic, scattered pills while trying to help, then died herself, perhaps from a medical crisis or accidental overdose. The dead dog's cause, probably starvation or dehydration if he was trapped, is unconfirmed. The other 2 dogs survived because of a pet door. So make sure y'all get a pet door. Sheriff Mendoza noted the pill bottle is very important evidence, but it's unclear who it belonged to or if it indicates intent or actual. Let's see. As for whether Hackman pissed anybody off, I mean, that seems almost like too obvious, doesn't it? Person dies right where the pill bottle was. If you had overdosed, I don't know. I feel like, take your pills wherever you took them, in the fucking medicine cabinet in the bathroom. But you're not going to just sit right there in the bathroom. Wouldn't you have wandered into the bedroom or into the living room and just kind of laid down until... Then if you feel it coming, it probably would hurt, right? So it'd be painful. You would hear, and then why wouldn't you puke it up? Or is it somehow, I don't know, is it like comforting? Because carbon monoxide is like a silent killer. Like you just go to sleep and you don't wake up. You just die of oxygen deprivation. So I feel like if you tried to overdose with pills, it'd be painful. Hell, just like, get a damn gun or find a bridge or something instead of going through pain. Let's see here. Friends described him as it's not just suspicious. It's somebody once said there's no such thing as a coincidence. There's probably some things. I would say that the rule is there is no such thing as coincidence. That is the rule, but I'm sure there's exceptions. So I don't believe in coincidences for the most part. Man, they both died at the same time. They both had a heart attack at the same time. And if anything, maybe I'm thinking something else. Look at the prescription pill. Is there some kind of medicine that's out there that doesn't help, Like they thought it was supposed to help, but they took the medicine thinking it was, and then the prescription pill, they didn't overdose. It was just, the pharmaceutical company is just pushing this shit on them. The doctor prescribed this fucking pill that eventually killed him. Maybe that's what it was. Let's see, I asked what would be the motive? Why would anybody kill Gene Hackman? Like, what was he guilty of? Did he piss anybody off? Did he ever kick a person? Did he ever rob a person? And then even if he didn't, what about his kids? His kids would have a motive, right, to take his property. He did get into an argument with like this homeless guy. They said it was road rage, so he had road rage and then like hit a homeless guy. But it's kind of crazy that we know that. 2011... he slapped a homeless man. It ended without charges and doesn't hint at a deeper vendetta. I heard there was another guy that he was like paying him money and then he eventually cut him off. So like he was financing him and financing his life and helping him out, but then eventually he says, no, I'm not going to help you with money anymore. And then the guy got pissed off and then he had to hit him or something. That guy could be, he could have done something. He was 95 years old, so I guess the real question is, like, what happened to her? But that's just my theory. The toxicology should say something, but, man, they should get those results in quick, because it's either they did something to each other, it was natural causes, or somebody on the outside did some shit. I would ask some tough questions of the family. They already blew that Rust, Alec Baldwin thing. The reason why I'd ask tough questions of the family, because who would benefit? Did they have a will? If they didn't have a will, then typically it would go to their next of kin. It would go to the spouse. And if the spouse is gone, then it would go to the kids, right? Or it would split. So if he had died, then the property would be split between her and his children. And I heard that he had a couple kids. So let's ask that last question. How many kids did Gene Hackman have? Because that would be motive. That doesn't, anybody could have a motive to but there was no robbery, no bludgeoning. So then anybody that would have a motive would have, either been living with them, around them, or have something to do with the property. The royalties. Doesn't he make like a shit ton of money with the royalties? Gene Hackman had 3 children, and they all hadn't contacted him for like weeks. But he was old, so who knows? He probably talked real slow and had nothing interesting to say. He had 3 children, all from his first marriage to Faye Maltese. He was married to Maltese from 1956 until 1986. I mean, that was a good 30-year run. Together they had 2 daughters, Leslie Ann Hackman and Elizabeth Jean Hackman, and 1 son, Christopher Allen. There are no widely publicized details about their exact birth dates or extensive personal lives. Why don't we know when they were born? As Hackman kept his family out of the spotlight during and after his acting career, he had no children with his second wife, Betsy Arakawa, whom he married in 1991 and remained with until their deaths in February 2025. And there's no indication in available records or recent reports that he had any additional children. So, I would ask tough questions of Leslie, Elizabeth, and Christopher. And then even maybe Faye Maltese. They could have been jealous of her. They took their father, this Betsy Arakawa took the father and took the husband away from them. And so he's just doting on her, living around her, cares about her. It's all about her. And then if the will does get split between the spouse and the children, and you had all this jealousy of the spouse, I don't know. I would kind of look into some travel records, plane tickets. And then they said they had cell phone data too, so, they're claiming, one of the daughters said that they hadn't talked to their father for weeks. That's the only person that seems like they have an obvious motive, or that one guy that he got into an argument. But there was, there was something about how he was kind of an asshole on set too. Did Gene Hackman ever get into an argument with anyone? That's such a... Of course he's got into an argument. But hell, if you look at Donald and Zelensky, all it takes is one argument and then it's over. So they're saying there's some on-set tensions with directors. There was a road raid incident. And then there's Lexi Alexander. Oh, no. Man, I read some other article. How come they're not pulling up this article? I'm going to pull up this other article because it's the only thing I think that could be possibly. So Gene Hackman cut off. Guy was paying for rent and life. Cops probe new theory on Gene Hackman's final moments. His explosive Hollywood history. Gene Hackman, who lied about his age to enlist. Sheriff says Gene Hackman and his wife tested negative for carbon monoxide. How about Gene Hackman argument? News. 911, no. Man, I should have kept that article and kept it close. Because it said something about he was talking to a guy, was paying for the guy, got into an argument with the guy, said he wasn't going to pay for his thing anymore. And then he hit the guy. And I think that happened in Santa Fe. He did not like working with John Travolta. And even if there was an article, I mean, I'm sure they've had arguments, and who knows, right? You could just start a beef over over a grasshopper, right? The famous grasshopper war in Delaware and Shawnee. You could just get into an argument with some douchebag, and so in a way, anybody could have a motive. But the most obvious ones would be the ones that we would know of, but we don't know of a bunch, right? We don't know most of what happens in people's lives, even though he's a superstar. So we saw him on the big screen, but they only have to, produce like 3 movies a year, and that's supposed to be a bunch? I had to make 3 whole movies this year, man. You know, that's a lot. I had to get up, and I had to be like, hey, you stop it, you. Hollywood's unsolved tragedies. And then he said that, what's his name? Dennis Quaid had said that, that first Batman guy was a hit. God, that sucks. What was his fucking name? I mean, he was a handsome man. What the fuck was his name? Isn't that terrible? It's like, do we even give a shit about anybody? Oh, man, come on. I feel so dumb right now. Alright, so who died? Batman, Joker, Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger. This Grok thing, Heath Ledger might have been killed. Not to get on another whole tangent. There's no credible evidence to suggest that Heath Ledger was murdered. The autopsy said he died from a toxic combination of prescription medications, including oxycodone, hydrocodone, diazepam, temazepam, alprazolam, and doxylamine. All legally prescribed. That's a lot of fucking pills. Taken in excessive amount, no foul play was indicated. They're not saying like he wasn't bludgeoned and there was an open door. They said that the door was opened. You know, maybe it was the groundskeeper that found the door that was open. Conspiracy theories have circulated, often fueled by his role as the Joker in The Dark Knight. Speculation. Santa Fe, I mean, Taos, there's a lot of violence that happens in Taos. And it's not that far away from Santa Fe. New Mexico is also the poorest state in the country. But there was no robbery. It didn't look like there was any breaking and entering or no obvious signs. You might have been able to, I don't know. They're talking about other questions, Hollywood's unsolved tragedies. Marilyn Monroe, Natalie Wood, Tupac Shakur, Duane Keffe D. Davis was charged. Did they convict him? Thelma Todd, George Reeves, Elizabeth Short. I don't know a lot of these people. Superman actor George Reeves died in 1959 from a gunshot wound labeled a suicide. Discrepancies abounded, mismatched shell casings, no gunpowder residue on his hands. Witness reporting multiple shots. His fiancée fled with his money days later, fueling theories of murder. Wow. That is very interesting. Thelma Todd, accidental carbon monoxide poisoning, but evidence of throat trauma and extortion threats from gangsters suggested otherwise. Interesting. Just some random gangster trying to extort him. Makes me go back to that damn argument. Because it's just too obvious to just blame the kids. The poor kids, they're just leading their lives somewhere else. I'm sure they were able to use Papa's money and make something of themselves somewhere. Elizabeth Short, one of history's, Hollywood's most gruesome unsolved cases. Her body was severed, drained of blood, and posed publicly in Los Angeles. Over 60 suspects were investigated, including surgeons and mobsters, but no charges followed. Wow, the Black Dahlia's horrific fate. Is that what that one movie was about? Bob Crane's Secrets of a Double Life. Hogan's Heroes star Bob Crane was bludgeoned to death in 1978, exposing his obsession with recording sexual escapades. John Carpenter, the last to see him alive, was acquitted due to lack of evidence. John Carpenter, wasn't he a director from Kentucky? Brittany Murphy. Did they think pneumonia drug interactions sparked theories when her husband Simon Monjack died months later under similar circumstances? That is very interesting. Alleged heavy metal poisoning, toxic mold. Brian Jones drowned in his pool in 1969. Ruled accidental. A builder's deathbed confession claimed he murdered Jones over a band disputes. Jones's daughter insists he was killed for royalty rights. Wow! Johnny Stampanato, a mobster's Hollywood end. Alright, how long is this gone? Well, I guess there's two of them that was, these two are really fucking interesting. What's Thelma Todd? Thelma Todd, 1935 death was ruled accidental, but evidence of throat trauma and extortion threats. Bob Crane was at recording sexual escapades. He recorded sexual escapades. You know, all these are actually like really interesting. I'd like to follow up on all of them, but I won't. I'll look into the Black Dahlia, because there's a movie that was made about that. And then George Reeves, is that the father of Christopher? All right.